89 years of age, I continue to swim nearly every day and have for the last 25 years. I'm outside in the summertime swimming at Ridgewood Pool. In the wintertime, I swim at the YMCA. And also when I go to Bonita Springs, Florida, I swim down there too in the wintertime, January and February. It's taken a lifetime almost to get to this point. I was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin in 1935. But when I was 3 years old, we moved to Greendale, Wisconsin, which is a suburb of Milwaukee. And it was one of the 3 greenbelt towns in the world at the time, or the United States basically at the time. There's a Green Hills, Maryland, a Green Hills, Ohio, and a Green Hill, Wisconsin. And it was a community that you had to be in middle income. You couldn't be too rich, you couldn't be too poor. And you had to be screened to get in there. And we were the 5th family to move in at the time. And it worked out quite well because it was all young couples, all in the same middle income group. So it was quite elite community, if you will. Everything was brand new high school, brand new homes, the whole works. Eleanor Roosevelt was there for the dedication because it was part of the FDR programs at the time. I graduated from Greendale High School in 1953, and I was able to go all 4 years at the Greendale High School. It was a nice high school because it was a brand new school. We had all new gym equipment. We had good facilities. I took mechanical arts where you had not saws, but table saws, you name it type of thing. And then I also took drawing classes, architectural drawing and things of that nature. So it worked out quite well. And after graduating from Greendale, I then was able to go to my freshman year to Wisconsin State College in in Milwaukee, on the north side of Milwaukee, and took undeclared major because then after that I went to Iowa State University and enrolled in the forestry program there. And there was no place to stay at the dorms at the time, and so they put us temporarily in a fraternity, and I ended up joining the fraternity, and after 2 or 3 years at the fraternity house, I ended up being president of the fraternity, so I got very involved in activities there. And also when I graduated from Iowa State, I got a degree in forest management, and also I was commissioned as a second lieutenant, and then did active duty later on. I started my career in Wisconsin with the Department of Natural Resources. It was after I graduated from Iowa State in December 1957. I came back home to Milwaukee, and I applied for a job just temporarily before I was going to go active duty in January of April of 1958. So I went to 1 West Wilson Street in downtown Madison and talked to Bob Connors, who was the personnel guy, and he said, well, we need inventory foresters. So I thought I'd do that for a couple months before I go on active duty. And so they assigned me to Tomahawk, Wisconsin. And I moved up to Tomahawk. It was 20 below zero when I got there. And Rick from DNR was my first boss at the time. And that's when I went on forest inventory. So I spent like 5 days a week on snowshoes. Mainly we were doing Sauk County for inventory back and forth there. And then when I went active duty, I then came back again and spent some more time at Tomahawk. And then I was assigned as a forester in Columbia County in Portage. And that spring of 1959, I ended up supervising this planting of 1 million trees into the soil bank program. And that was the major thing there. And then in the fall of the year, I'd gone earlier to a workshop about tree diseases and everything, and I got really interested in that. So I ended up going back to graduate school and got a degree in plant pathology and came back to DNR in 1961 with a master's degree and worked as a forest entomologist initially because they didn't have a pathology position available. And then when they created the pathology position, I became the forest pathologist for the state of Wisconsin, actually the first forest pathologist. And then, so I spent most of my career then in forest health and ended up supervising half a dozen forest entomologists and other plant pathologists too. And so that's the main career time that I've spent with DNR. I had 42 years of service, and that was one of the most wonderful experiences of my life as far as the ability, because I was able to eventually branch into other forest health things, and I became involved in the Society of American Foresters, and I got nominated and elected as the Forest Science Board with the National Society of American Foresters. And I spent several years at the committees there, and then I got a chance to get involved in international programs too. So I was able to travel to places like Dijon, France for conferences, Italy for oak wilt, and the Czech Republic for tree disease programs and things of that nature. I met my wife Judy of 62 years, actually in 1959 at homecoming at UW-Madison. I went to a homecoming event at the field house, and she was there with other people too, and we had a chance to visit a little bit, but then I took my dates were rearranged, was arranged at the times, back to the dorm, and then I came back to the fraternity house where I was living at the time, and Judy was there, so I got a chance to visit her because I found out she was from Reedsburg area, and I had been forester over in Columbia County, so we had things in common we talked about there. And then our first date was that was in November when I saw her, but our first date wasn't until January, and we actually went to a boxing match at the field house, and I wore a suit and tie, and she wore heels, sitting on the wooden benches and all that type of thing. So it was just one of our more memorable things. And then we were married in 1961 at Queen of Peace Church in Madison. And then we had, subsequently, we had 3 children. We have Jeff, who was born in 61, and Tim, who was born in 1958, 68, and Amy, who was born in 69. Once the kids left, Judy was able to work full time, and she got a job originally working with disabled kids, and then she also ended up getting a job with the Attic Angel Association, where she was executive assistant to the board. And we continued to work. She continued to work, but then she had cardiac arrest in 1996, and so then she was unable to work, and we ended up going then to Florida in the future, annually for January and February, and it worked out quite well because we had friends down there. We had DNR friends who we met, and we also had just friends from Boston and other areas where we did things socially, and we were able to have our fun time there, for escaping the winters here. After going to Florida for 25 years, Judy unfortunately passed away, and so we're continuing but I did go to Florida again this past year in 2024, and I could hope to continue to go to Florida in the future too. Back in 1990, I figured, well, when I retire in the future, I gotta find something to do. And one of the things I used to enjoy was watercolor classes that I took at Greendale High School. And there were like 3 of us guys that were doing watercolors and other art things too. So I enrolled a class here at Madison School and Recreation Program. The classes are held at Memorial High School, and I was still actively working, so that would be like on Thursday night. So I got back, for example, from Hayward at 5 o'clock, and I had to go to watercolor class at 7 o'clock after driving all that distance and everything, but I enjoyed doing it all and continued to do that until actually the year I retired. Then I was able to do watercolor classes during the day too, and actually took watercolor classes in Florida as well as here. And it's been real rewarding because I continue to paint now. And when I was in Florida, I could do it Mondays and Thursdays. And in Madison, I do it like 1 day a week. And it's stimulating. I get to work with people together on that. And I was get a few awards. In fact, I even got an award from the mayor for one of my Best of Show awards, the type of thing. So that was at the Madison Senior Center art class. And so I continue to do that, and I will continue to do it as long as I can. The trouble is, as you get older, your eyes get, so I'm going to get some cataract surgery in the future. I'll get this squared away here. So, yeah. When I go to Florida, we get the chance to meet Don and Doris Singler, who we used to play tennis with here in Madison. They lived right across the street from us. And so we didn't fight with our spouses. We did tennis, we do doubles, and Doris and I'd be partner, and Don and Judy would be partners. And so we get like 3 days a week. For a while, in the summertime, we used to play tennis together. And now we're getting all older, so I haven't played tennis for a while. I tried some racquetball once or twice to see, and then also the pickleball is a new one there too, is a thing. But I just haven't done that type of activity before since that time. So I also did some running. Actually, we used to go Crazy Legs run every year, and Crazy Legs is always the last Saturday in April, and it's like 10,000 people participate in this. And actually, my friends from Greendale, Wisconsin used to come up to Madison, and we'd meet and go Crazy Legs, and we compete, and then we go back, and then we would just drink beer afterwards. That was the social part there. But I did 25 for 25 years until I was up till 75 years of age. I did Crazy Legs run, and it was neat because everybody in the city that was a politician or whatever could participate there. So I got a chance to run with the governor, Tony Earl, and Frank, and some of the other people around at the time, and it worked out quite well. But Dwayne also joined us in biking, but I never got any awards. I was always in the top 10 in my age class, but never won a division class or something like that. But I was able to participate for all these years. So I retired in the year 2000, and when I was going to a DNR lunch at a time, and I was talking to Earl Meyer from DNR, and we talked about doing something together, and I mentioned I like to go biking because Judy and I used to bike quite frequently, and Earl said he'd like to bike too, so we decided to do that. And so we went out on the county road here somewhere, and then Earl was weaving all back and forth, talking of politics, etc. And I said, Earl, we just can't do this. We're just too dangerous out there. I said, let's do trails. So we decided we'd do a trail. And then we decided, when are you going to do it? Well, it's always hard because he wants to go Tuesday and Wednesday. I said, well, when I was in the military, R&R was always every Thursday. So we route recreation and would be every Thursday. So let's just do it on Thursday. So we decided to pick a trail every Thursday, and that worked out pretty well. And then Dwayne DePore joined us afterwards, about a month afterwards, and he didn't even have a bike. He had to borrow one of his nephew's bikes or something like this. And so the three of us started out, and we biked all summer every Thursday, and it worked out quite well. And then we decided if we got a few more people who were bikers around, Guy Rogers being an example, and we ended up with a couple people. We've grown and now have a website, thanks to Rick Wojak, who was able to put this all together when he has more time to do this now, and he's retired too. But now we bike, we bowl. Actually, now we have hiking on Mondays, and we have bowling on Thursdays, and we have road biking also on Tuesdays. So there's like 61 people, or 81 people, I think it is, that we have now. Our biking thing has been continuing to do quite well. As I mentioned earlier, that we picked Thursday as a biking trail rides. So every Thursday we do trails. I don't do any other road trips with it. It's always trails, and there's several trails all moving to southern here in Wisconsin. We go down to Belleville, and we go to Sugar River Trail down in Albany, Wisconsin, and we can do Cottage Grove, and we Glacial Grumman Trail that takes us from Cottage Grove to Lake Mills, and there's the Military Ridge Trail, and we can do the Military Ridge where we go from Madison to Mount Horeb, or we go actually from Rhoda from Mount Horeb, or we go from Mount Horeb to Barneville, and so there's trails in all different directions, and it works out quite well. Some are paved, some are gravel, but they're all suitable for most bikes, at least a comfort bike that you can use in these areas, so it works. About 3 years ago, I started having balance issues when I was biking, because I biked for 25 years and didn't have any major problems, but because of balance issues, I figured, well, I did fall. I did fall one time going through a tunnel. I went very slowly and on a regular bike, and I slowed down, put my hand up on on the side of the wall, but the side of the wall wasn't there, so I went down and skinned my legs up in the whole works. I said, well, I can't afford to do this. So I was able to investigate a trike, and I looked at all different kinds, and 3-wheels, 4-wheel trikes, and ones that have 2 wheels in front, that's called a tadpole, or a tripod that has 2 in back and 1 in front. And I ended up getting a tadpole bike, I call it a cat trike, at Eric's Bike Shop, and I'm so pleased with it. It's been so well, and I've got 3 years now, and I got like almost 2,000 miles on it, and I'm able to keep up with the crowd because I was just 2 years ago, and I got a power assist, and it doesn't zoom like a motorcycle, but it actually can pedal and get your power assist that way, so I can keep up with the group right now. So I continue to hoping to use that trike for another 5 years down the road, possibly. I've been very pleased to live in Madison and spend all these years with my family here, and had a wonderful time together in this whole neighborhood and just in the whole city of Madison. And I was able to do all these nice activities like swimming and bowling. And bowling, by the way, that was a new one for me. I hadn't done that since I took the kids bowling or something like that, so I was trying to learn that. But as far as you can see, I just had a wonderful life in this whole neighborhood, and actually in the city type of thing. And I'm planning now in the future now, I can't be here forever living in this house and everything, so I do have reservations at Coventry and at Oakwood in case I needed to go in the future somewhere, but hopefully I can continue, because actually seeing my cardiologist, he congratulated me on my living, and I told him that my both parents lived to 95, and he thought that maybe I might exceed that. And so I'm just hoping that it can work out and I'll be able to do things, probably not. I continue to hope we can do a pool workout no matter what happened there. So I've just been very pleased about the whole situation here, and life's been just wonderful. Bye.